Well, welcome to the Christy Jones Show, where it's all about living your life to the fullest. I'm a life coach, speaker, and business owner in multifamily real estate, and I've had wild success in multifamily housing for over 25 years now. I am so passionate about helping others merge their success and lead a fulfilling life, and I bring it all together right here on this podcast. So join me and let's get started to live your life to the fullest. Hey, my friend, welcome back to another week here on the podcast. Hope you've had a great week. Hope you enjoyed last week's episode because I'm going to continue that conversation this week because I couldn't, as I wrapped up last week's podcast episode, there's just all these loose ends that I was like, I cannot cram this all into one conversation. Plus, it's something that I've never spoke about or talked about here on the podcast. So this is part two of that conversation. So let's get into it. Again, take some notes, grab something to write with if you're sitting down. But this is also a really good one to listen to while you're driving and just kind of take it in. But come back to this, save it, and definitely share this with a friend that needs to hear this as well. All right, so let's just go right back into it. I'm just going to kind of continue on from last week's conversation. And we're talking about finances. We're talking about money. I'm talking about a subject that oftentimes, unless people I hear this talked about, but sometimes, in a budgeting way or how to make money. I really want to come to you in this conversation. And the reason I'm doing these two episodes of the podcast is to share with you some things that I've learned when it comes to money mindset, money practicality, how to build wealth, things that I've learned along the way. Because as you know, I have rebuilt my life personally and professionally from the ground up. So I've learned a thing or two in that process. And I've been super fortunate to have experienced a lot of success. And so I want to share some things with you that I learned along the way and some different ways maybe to look at money. Money and finances become a supercharged subject, emotional subject for people. I don't really feel that way about it. I don't know. I mean, I don't get like super worked up about it. I can talk about it and it's kind of like just talking about any other subject to me. So I thought this would just be something good for me to share with you, things that I've learned along the way and that I think would help you as you are in your journey, no matter where you're at in that process. I know that there's something that you can take from these two conversations that I'm having about financial freedom and money mindset that will serve you as well. Just a side note, I've got my cell phone right here. I don't normally have it within my view when I'm doing a podcast, but my Maltese, who's 13, she is having a procedure today. And so I took her in this morning and it's a routine dental cleaning, but it always involves anesthesia. And I just, she's 13 and if you have a fur baby, it's just one of those things. So they're going to be calling me and they might be calling to update me of when they're going into surgery and when they get out of surgery. So I've got my phone right here because I am not going to miss that call. Okay. I am not missing it. She is numero uno. She is very important in our world. My husband and I, she's our little replacement child. We got her when my son was a junior in high school. And we never knew we could, and we've had pets, we've had dogs, and we had another dog that we loved so much, and she was such a good family dog, but there's something about this little tiny fur baby she's 13, but it's just turned us into a melting pot. We're just like just like a mess. So most of our life does revolve around Miss Scarlett and her routine. So know that. But anyways, I just wanted to let you know, you see me glancing down quite a bit. I'm getting updates, excuse me, getting updates and whatnot from the vet. So, Thanks for your understanding and patience on that. Okay, so let me just kind of pick up where I left off last week. And I've got a few more points and a few more things I want to touch on this week when it comes to the money talk, the financial freedom, all the things that I was talking about last week. So let me revisit. I talked about this already last week, but let me just kind of circle back to money mindset. Um, I hear that term a lot, and I used to hear that term a lot, and I was like, what does that mean? Like what? And it's kind of just, I think, overused a ton now, um, about money mindset and having, but there's a lot of truth in it as well. So I don't use a lot of the same lingo and verbiage that a lot of the other people use because, I speak. I talk to you guys like we're sitting here having a conversation, just like I said last week. We're going to sit down, have a cup of coffee, and we're friends, and I'm going to talk to you like I would if we were in that setting. So I don't do this whole razzle dazzle, all these big words, like, because I don't use those in my everyday life or my business. So I feel like when I talk about money mindset, it's just, it's a lot of the same thing, like the way we need to perceive it and the way that we have to be in control of how we view money and finances. But I just use a little different lingo, maybe a little simpler language about it. So, and I feel like the people that tune in and listen, like that's what you want, like I don't want somebody to talk to me and then have to go get a freaking dictionary to break down what you're telling me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't got time for it. Just tell me just plain language. Okay. So let's talk about the money mindset. And I touched on this last week, but there's always work that we can do on ourselves in how we perceive it and how we utilize it and how we ultimately draw it into our life. Um, you've heard the word scarcity, or some people say scarcity. I say scarcity. So the scarcity mindset around money. And specifically, like when I hear that, here's what that means to me. That things like there's not enough to go around. Like there's only so much. And what if I can't earn what I'm supposed to earn? Or scarcity in that we will never have enough to take care of the things that we need to take care of. Or the scarcity mindset that there's limited resources in the world, limited financial resources that are available to us. Those type of things fall in that bucket of scarcity mindset. And the other thing when it comes to money mindset is recognizing if you're a person that thinks that money is bad, or if you cannot, and when I say bad, meaning that do you feel money causes problems? Is money a burden? Is money hard to come by? Is it like really challenging? Is it hard? Is it heavy to bring financial resources, to bring money into your world? So I say the term of like they think of thinking money is bad. And bad meaning those things, like bad that it's a problem, that it's hard, that it's unattainable, that it causes problems, that individuals or businesses or entities that have money are not good. Or do you know what I'm saying? I mean, these are really like pretty basic and kind of traditional things that get talked about or passed around in thought, in conversation. So if any of that resonates, we need to eliminate that. We need to work through that. So recognize if that's you. And do I perceive having money? Do I perceive making money as a negative? Even though you're like, well, why would I think that? No, making money is great. Like I want to pay my bills and I want to go on a vacation and I want to be able to maybe you want to buy a house, maybe you want to buy whatever, pay for an education, maybe whatever it is, right? No, I don't think money's bad. But in your subconscious, like in that layer under the things that we say, okay, that layer under that, that's kind of maybe the little autopilot that's playing in your brain, or the way that you actually, like you say this, but then you show up in your world, you show up in your life in a different way that's kind of sending the message that having money is bad, that having money is hard, that it has that negative connotation. Okay. So I'm not necessarily talking about like, oh no, I verbalize this, but what do you truly believe? So you really want to be able to do some deeper work, some inner work on your subconscious and really like acknowledging what you feel is like your true belief on that, like that underlying current, okay? Because that's the energy that you're showing up with. Our true beliefs, it's not like what we always verbalize, it's like our core beliefs, what we believe to be true. That is the energy and the vibration that we actually show up in the world with. And I know that may sound a little woo-woo. You're like, okay, wait a minute. No, seriously, think about it. Like everything is energy. Even making money is energy. It is an energetic transaction. So really really evaluate yourself to be like, what is my subconscious? Like, what is that? I like to call it that underlying current, that little ripple. Okay. That is, what is your true belief on that? Because that, whatever that is, that's what you're authentically, that's like what you're showing up as. And that's what you're putting forth into the world, into your day. Okay. So that is what's then coming back to you. Um, I could go a lot deeper on that right now, but I have some other points I want to make, so I'm going to keep moving. Excuse me. My allergies are like super crazy right now in Oklahoma. I'm heading back to San Diego soon. Maybe they'll like chill a little bit. But right now, like I've got all the things going, so bear with me. So, mindset around money, scarcity, thinking that there's not enough for you, there's not enough for me, there's not enough for all of us, there's la la la, all that chatter, like, okay, be aware of it, and you've got to be able to grow beyond that. So if that's you, know that that's an area that you could do some work in, okay? Because we've got to get the way we view it and our mindset and our subconscious, like that ripple effect, that underlying energy, we have to get that like cleaned up. You got to do some housekeeping there, okay? One of the things that a story that I want to share really quick um, is that one thing I want to say is that when it comes to money mindset is I truly, even in my super challenging times, and my husband, we've actually had this conversation, and he actually has said this exact same thing, that he had always felt the same way as well. That I always felt like things were going to work out for me. Like I just kind of knew that financially, well, in all ways, but I knew that the money situation was going to work out for me and I was going to have an abundant life. I just always knew that. Now, I knew that and I felt that deep within when there was no like outward proof of that. And there was nothing reflecting back to me that the way I was thinking and the way I was choosing to show up in the world was true. I mean, that's kind of hard, you know? Uh, but you have to be a little like, I don't know, I call it delulu. You have to have a little bit of delusion to really go for these big things, right? And so I truly had this underlying, what I talk about, an underlying current, a subconscious belief that things were going to work out for me some way, somehow. And my husband, we were talking about this not too long ago, and he said, you know what, he always knew that too for himself. He was like, he always knew like that things he always, and we both still approach life like that, to where we always know that things are always working for us and it's going to work out. And so it's when you know that at your core and you feel that, and that's like your belief, your inner belief, that underlying current, it's a whole lot easier to take the punches, to take the setbacks, or when things on the outward aren't reflecting back to you, like, okay, and I'm not getting a whole lot of like visual proof here, but your inner belief is so strong and so like just so solid that it doesn't, you're like, okay, well, it just hasn't shown itself yet. I mean, that's how I look at it. That's fine. It just hasn't shown itself yet, but it's going to, and it's just a matter of time. So that's something for myself and my husband as well that we just kind of believe on the inside and have for before we even met each other. Um, One of the things I was talking about when I was talking about, sometimes people view money as bad or, it just has a negative, like people with money, businesses with money, things that have money, that it's bad or it's has a negative connotation. Okay. So first of all, focus on one of the things that I would say, and a story I'm going to share is, think about when you're in that abundant space, think about the things that you can do with the abundance that of ways that maybe for yourself that are personal to you of things that you can do to help. And so a story before I hit record on this, something I was thinking about was as we weren't at the level we are now, but we were in our journey, but we were making money. We had extra. We were, doing the things within our business and reinvesting, and I'll touch on that in a second. But we had this opportunity to do things to help others. And this story specifically is one that I was thinking of before I hit record. So, and I'm sharing this just because we have to like if you're finding yourself kind of struggling in that money mindset, and it's bad or negative or it causes problems, think of all the positives and all the things that come from that abundance. Okay. So our son played a lot of different sports through the years when he was growing up, but one of his favorites that took a lot of time and effort and all the things was soccer. So it was travel both at the school and also travel ball. And so um, with club soccer, at some point, they have tryouts, and as the teams go, there were kids that had tried out for the team and they were from a nearby city. They were from Southeast Oklahoma City. Anyways, they had made the team. I think three of those kids made the team. They were good enough, in the tryouts and all that. So, um, I don't remember what age group this was. I don't remember exactly what year. There was a lot of years of it, so it's kind of all blending together. But it was going to be closer to like when they were in middle school. Yeah, this would be like middle school, so just stepping into those early teenage years, right? And so there were, if you've ever done club sports or you've been a parent with club sports, you kind of know what, you kind of know the series of that and the time investment and the money investment that's included in that. And so we had three players that the coach had selected to make the team. And so on the team, there's, generally I think you can, I don't know, they generally have scholarships and stuff for these. There were three players that they would need like scholarship or financial assistance to be on the team. And this was a team that was traveling and doing, had a lot of great players on it and a lot of great families involved and traveled, all over the United States in games and tournaments and things like that. And I remember there was after these three boys had made the team, and um, I think it was like at a meeting or how you have different like I don't know parent meetings or whatever it was. I don't remember what we called them, but there was a meeting, and I remember the fact that these three players had made it ruffled a few feathers with not everybody, but a few parents on that were on also on the team. And so my husband, we're all there, and I think the coach is talking, and we're going over different things, and it's good just to listen. Okay. I've been in so many of those deals. It's like so many people like want to chime in. It's like just listen, take in the information and. Anyways, so someone had said on the parent side that someone had said because like I said, these three boys, they were good. The coach is trying to build up the best team uh, to to have the best team going into the next season. So that bothered a few people because when you brought three more players on that were really good and would be good fits for the team, then that means just more competition on the team, right? For playing time and all that. And so that's why it was like, few people get their feathers ruffled. My take on all that, my husband and I, we're just like, look, I mean, that's just life, okay? If you want it playing time, that's up to the kid. That's up to like they have to work on their skill set. They have to better themselves. That's between them and their coach. Like I just am not into like the parental involvement in that. You know what I'm saying? So we were like that. It's great. I mean, hey, that's just life. Competent, everybody has to earn their playing time. Okay. That's just how it goes. And so we thought it was a real positive for the team. But if someone had said, how'd they say it? I don't want to say this wrong. No pay, no play. That was said. No pay, no play. Meaning that if you can't pay to be in the club, um, no playtime. If you can't pay to travel, when I say travel, you've got and there's flights involved. There's obviously hotels and food when you're on the road and things like that. Um, and so it was no pay, no play. I was just kind of like, hmm. And so my husband said, he's like, we got him. And we sponsored those three players for all the years that they all played soccer together. I'm trying to remember, was it 3 years? It was something like that, 3 or 4 years that same group was all together. And so he later had we were just kind of like, really? We're gonna like, I think we can find a solution. There was a group of people that a lot of people have the ability to help um, fund and support these three players. But it was that wasn't the vibe that was going on in that meeting. So Steve had let the coach know. He's like, Christy and I, we'll cover, they'll travel with us. It's fine. Like, we are not going to eliminate kids. And I say kids because they were, middle school. They're and growing into young men. We are not going to penalize them and because we have the ability, that's what we're going to do. So they traveled with us. We went and picked them up, got them on planes. They rode in the car with us when it was road trips. Our son and it was actually a lot of fun. And we'd always get two adjoining rooms, and I'd put those four boys, those four smelly teenage boys, I'd get them in one room, and then Steve and I were right there because, it's not like you're going to have them down the hall or anything, or at least I'm not. Mama Jones is going to keep an eye on them. You know what I'm saying? So, anyways, the ability to help and the relationships that we built with these three young men and the opportunity that they got to do to compete at a high level, to be part of something, to work on their skill set. There's so many positives in that have nothing to do with my daily life or my husband's daily life. But what I'm trying to get at is that you can't look at and have the mindset that money is negative and making more money is a bad thing when it has such good positive potential. So the fact that we were able to do that was a total blessing. And it was such a great time. It was honestly some of the best memories. And of, when we did all that travel ball stuff, we got to know their families, got their families involved, got their parents to try to whatever we could to allow them to stay involved in their kids, soccer and all the good things that they were doing. So it was a lot of fun. And um, it's just, there's so much good that having a little extra can of what you can do. That's just one example that right before I hit record, I was thinking of that. And I thought, you know, if you look at money and financial success as bad or negative, how do you explain that? That is such a positive, a way that you can give and help others, right? And I mean, that alone, that's just one tiny little example. Okay. So the ripple effect of that and the ripple effect of, not of viewing money in a positive way, in an empowering way, and the opportunity that it gives so that you can give opportunity to others. So I could come up with like 5,000 examples for you right now, but that's just one that right before I hit record came to me. And I was like, that was so that if that hadn't happened, the mindset was no pay, no pay, no play. So, and I think that I just I don't know that I just don't see how having financial freedom, making money, how that needs to be packaged up into a negative connotation and that it's bad or that successful businesses are not good and meaning financial success and because success to me is like a whole laundry list of things, okay? So I'm just talking about one little piece to the puzzle, all right? But or people that make a lot of money, that's negative or bad. Absolutely not. I really just, I just encourage you if you've been struggling with that to really, again, do some work, get into that subconscious and figure out your underlying your underlying thought on this subject. And then I encourage you to consider that it is not all bad, that there's so much good and opportunity that it gives, that it allows. So that soccer story is one to think about. One of the other things on mindset is I don't think I touched on this last week. So I don't want to leave this conversation without mentioning the law of assumption. If you haven't heard the law, there's the law of attraction, and these are just universal laws of energy. And then the law of assumption. In the law of assumption, it's just that, right? You're assuming, you're not just like thinking about it or wishing for it. You're assuming it to be. In the law of assumption, you are assuming as if it was. So when you're assuming, like that means your mindset is going in that direction. You're showing up in your life, right, as if it already is. And that is the law. That's how you operate. That's just a little small piece of it, but that's how you operate in the law of assumption. And I've had that mindset of law of assumption, knowing that I just knew that it would be my destiny to have success in the financial area. I just knew it. I assumed it. I claimed it before it even existed. I knew it was being drawn to me. I knew it was being drawn to me. I knew it was being drawn to me. I knew financial success was being drawn to me. I just knew, I knew. Your knower, like your inner knower, right? So the law of assumption, lean into that, learn a little bit more about that. I can do a deeper dive with you on that, but I just knew it was going to be part of my destiny. I really knew. I really do. And I mean, I kind of knew that when, again, the outer things were not telling me, you're assuming right. I wasn't really getting that, but I just knew it. I knew it. I knew I was drawing it to me. I knew I was in preparation for it. And that's another key thing is that's why you have to always be willing to work on yourself and you're moving towards it because you have to be ready for it. If like you are not ready for it, when it shows up, it can go to hell in a handbasket quick. So you want to make sure you're ready. So I was always wanting to make sure I was doing the things that had me ready for the opportunity. So when opportunity knocked, I was ready, that I could show up in the right mindset, that I could show up with pure energy, so I could make the most of what I had been given. To much is given, much is expected. And I knew that's another reason. I knew God knew he could trust me with massive responsibility. Massive responsibility. I knew that I could be trusted with that. So I felt it was kind of my job to always be on the path of preparing myself. So preparing my mind, preparing my body, preparing my spirit, like the whole thing. So that's the law of that's part of the law of assumption, and meaning that I just knew it was part of my destiny. I knew it was going to be part of my life in my lifetime. All right, second thing is, so let's not gloss over the mindset part. Let's let's be clear that it takes some work, it takes some self-evaluation, some self-awareness, but these are all things that you can work through, that you can get better at, that can become like autopilot for yourself. Okay, so make that like priority on your list, because money can come into your world, but if you're not prepared, if you don't have your mind ready, it's kind of like the garden, right? If you haven't tended to the soil, when you put the seed in the ground, it might just grow and then wither and die. So tend to the soil, tend to your mind, tend to your thoughts, to your energy, to the all that inner stuff, right? Tend to that so that when it comes into your world, when as it and it maybe is already there, but maybe you're still struggling with it. So tend to your mind, tend to the soil, get it on fertile ground, because when you plant a seed on fertile ground, that is when things thrive, they grow, they multiply. That's what you want. But if you're throwing a seed in like bad soil, you're not going to get the full benefit. You're not going to get the full crop. Okay. And it might just shrivel up and die. I don't know. But you've got to start with the soil. So that is your mind. That is your thoughts. That is the inner work. Okay. So that is laying the foundation. So it's very, very important. I definitely don't want to leave this conversation and not emphasize that. Okay. Second thing I want to talk about in today's episode is when you're making money. One of the things that I've learned is as you're making money and things are rolling along and you're like, okay, and you've got like you're taking care of the necessities, meaning like, your cost of living, all those things. Look at, and again, last week I talked about living within your means. That's sometimes people get out of whack on that and then they get in a real hot seat because they went too much, too fast for whatever reasons, and now they can't support maybe the lifestyle that they jumped headfirst into. So consider that. Go back and listen to last week if you haven't listened to last week, because like these two have got to go together. But we began putting money back into our business. Now, if you're a business owner, an entrepreneur, that that will like make sense to you. You've got to prioritize as you're making money that you don't just spend it on crap all the time. You've got to be smart. You've got to reinvest. You've got to put money back into your business. Put money, and if you're not a business owner, whatever that thing is that's making money for you, you need to reinvest there. You need to be putting your money back into what is making you money, not just blowing it on stupid things. Okay. So reinvest. That could look like reinvesting in your business. That could look like, for us, reinvesting it in another apartment community, in another piece of real estate, building something new. That could look like investing money in your own skill set, investing money back into yourself to shore up your skill set, to really strengthen yourself so that you can continue on your path of financial freedom, of creating more wealth. So put money back into what is making you money. So reinvest that. Be smart with that. Don't just like toss it up in the wind. Um, Realizing that, and I know it's super tempting when you first start making money. It's like, holy cow, okay. And you think, oh my gosh, you start thinking of like, ooh, we do this, or there's this, and that's like, I touched on that a little bit last week, but that's kind of dangerous like that. Be very self-aware. It's fine to enjoy your money and it's great to enjoy your life. And I am 100% for that. But when you're first like getting that first traction, in that area, it's really tempting to like go maybe real far in the other direction. And what I'm saying is like dial that in a little bit and realize that reinvesting and going back and putting money into what is going to continue to make money, build your future, you know, invest in yourself, invest in your business, invest in what it is that's generating that for you. That's a smart, that I have found that that's a smart way to go. So, um, my husband and I we've very much been on the same page when it comes to that. And so that's something when you first like start, generating and seeing the fruits of your labor, just be aware of that and move with wisdom. Next thing one of the points I want to make in this episode is on educating yourself about money. Um, I mean, it's real, unless you come from maybe a family of money, or they talked about money, or maybe you already came from wealth. You've probably been in those environments where they talk about it. You understand the lingo, that type of thing. If you haven't come from that environment, like, I didn't come from that environment, my husband didn't come from that environment. So one of the things that I've found to be pretty important pretty fast was to start educating myself on understanding money, understanding financial terms. And it's not like you have to, I'm not saying like you're a whole financial wizard. You know what I'm saying? Like we all have our strengths and weaknesses, but you need to understand the basics. You need to understand different individuals that handle different aspects of money or business, and understand like and know who those people are and be familiar, like just get comfortable having these conversations. Because starting out, I mean, I know for me, like it felt really weird. Like I was like, I don't even, this is like out of my wheelhouse, right? But I didn't let that stop me from, one thing I've never had a problem with is saying, yeah, I don't know the answer to that, but I'm going to find the person that does. I've always asked questions, because I want to know, like I want to understand it. And so sometimes people think, have you ever thought that like, oh, if I ask this question, they're going to think I'm stupid, or they're going to be like, oh, they don't really know what they don't, I can't believe they don't know that. Like, I've just never really cared. Like, I don't really care what you like. That's fine. Think that, but answer my question. I don't care. I really don't care. But I do think the fact that I've have been able to be like really um, okay asking questions, even in environments where there could be people sitting there going, "Oh my God, I can't believe she asked that question." Yeah, I asked that question because there's probably someone else sitting right here at this table that wants to know that same damn question or the answer to that question. So I'm going to ask it for probably all of us. Judge that. So I've never really had a problem asking the question that I better want to understand. So know that it's okay to ask questions. That's part of the process. Like learn it. Um, Understanding money, understanding different parts of just the whole financial structure, whether it's your household, whether it's your business, whatever that is, you need to know. You need to educate yourself. And that's on you. Like, we're like, oh, well, I didn't grow up and we didn't talk about that. Okay. I mean, are we going to talk about that forever? I mean, how long's that excuse going to last? Like, it's kind of like, okay, well, you acknowledge that. So now you know you can go teach yourself. You can go find the people that can teach that to you. You can go find the people that you trust that you can ask these questions to, and then they'll give you good answers. So I get it. Like, most of us didn't, come from that type of start. We didn't sit growing up in conversations where these things were talked about. That's not good or bad. It just is. I mean, I'm not upset about it. I'm not like, oh my gosh, I can't believe nobody ever talked to me about this. No, I mean, it's not a big deal. So now that I know I need to know, I'm going to go learn it. So that's what I want you to know is educate yourself and don't allow others to solely make money decisions for you. understand understand things like it doesn't have to be like your complete expertise. It doesn't have to be like, oh my gosh, I'm a number whiz, because I am not a number whiz. I am not a number whiz. No, but I know who is. And that's where I'm going. No, so I'm not saying you have to be like a guru in this, but you need to know that it's your responsibility to educate yourself and just don't depend and allow on other people on your team, in your business, in your life, whatever, to 100% like keep you in the dark and make all the decisions and just be like, I got it. Understand it. Like, just understand kind of the basics. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, it's on each of us to educate ourselves. Like once we become grown ass adults, like that's on us. So, and I say this from like, I'm a person that has made, or in my early days, I mean, I made so many mistakes. I didn't follow any of this advice. No, I didn't follow any of this when I was younger. I mean, never dawned on me, never dawned on me. Um, so just educate yourself. Know that you can learn, you can get familiar with terms. Don't be scared of it. Okay. Again, people get scared of it because they put so much emotion into it. Like, take the emotion out of it. It's just like learning about anything else. Okay. It's just money. All right. That's it. So, um, okay, last thing I want to talk about is financial freedom. And I did talk about this a little bit in last week's episode. But one of the reasons why, why I even decided to talk about this, of the success in the money department and building wealth, is the financial freedom that it gives you. And that is, to me, what that means on financial freedom is you getting to choose how you spend your time. And that's a big one for me. Maybe it is for you too. But one of the things, quite well, a long time ago, that we had talked about wanting to be able to do was on a, my husband and I, I'm talking to say we, meaning he and I, we used to say, yeah, one day we want to be able to be like, it's a Tuesday and we want to get on a plane and go to wherever we want to go. Have the ability to like have that flexibility and freedom to make a spontaneous decision to say, yeah, it's Thursday. Let's go fly to here and let's go do this and be able to do that. Of course, we knew that would be probably at a time where we didn't have little kids in the house too. So we were, empty nesters. But that was a goal of ours. And we are able to do that. That freedom to get to choose how you spend your time, how your work schedule looks, where you travel to. We enjoy travel. Not everybody enjoys travel, but we like to have experiences. We like to go places. We like to see different things, experience different places. So that's just something we like to do. But whatever that is for you, um, with your end goal in mind, the flexibility and the freedom to be able to choose whatever that thing is for you. It also financial freedom allows you, and kind of touched on this earlier on this episode, was to be able to give to others, to do for others. Financial freedoms allowed us to, pay for college educations for other people. And coming from two people that did not graduate from college, but we, we're supportive of those education endeavors that other people are on, and so we've been able to support people in that, and really the financial freedom to, in a variety of ways, be able to create opportunities for others, invest in startups and help people's that want to start their dream. And so financial freedom, that was one of the things that we enjoy about it, that it gives us the flexibility to do that if we so choose. And so financial freedom is going to be defined differently by each of us. But when you're able to kind of think forward of what would that mean for me and what would that look like for me, it is a great motivator, and it helps you get a visual of and something to kind of like to focus on inside. So you have something that you're like, you can see it, the vision, the financial freedom to be able to enjoy time with our grandkids and have a lot of flexibility to do that. I think we're going on 10 years when we bought our place in San Diego in Carlsbad. And at the time we were still, we weren't sure like how much are we actually going to be able to do both places, live in both places and go back and forth. But we rented for a year, we leased a place for a year. And then after that, we were like, okay, we had our rhythm down. We were like, oh yeah, okay, we can do this. And then we ended up buying the next year. And that was a goal of ours. That was something that we wanted to do. We saw ourselves, spending time elsewhere as well. And so that was a lot of fun. That was one of the things that financial freedom, that was a goal of ours. And we were able to experience that, do that, and it's been a blast. So you identifying for yourself what financial freedom, what that looks like, what that feels like, and what that encompasses. And of course, it's going to look different, obviously, depending on what like stage of life you're in. I mean, we could make those type of choices when we did 10 years ago because, we were empty nesting. So there wasn't, besides Miss Scarlett, because I already told you the world revolves around her right now. So that's my little Maltese. So she was only 5 years old. How old was she? I don't remember, maybe 4. But anyways, um, she's lived a good little life. She's a good little traveler. She's been a good air traveler. Now, that wasn't so much on my radar years ago when I was thinking of my financial freedom, that it was going to involve me basically working for a Maltese dog who like rules the house and the travel schedule. That I didn't have penciled in there, but but I easily accommodated it. Like it was okay. We love her. She's just, if you follow any of my social, then you see her on there from time to time. And if you see her and if you meet her, you just can't help but love her. I'm telling you right now. If you don't want to be, if you're trying not to be attached to a dog, definitely don't get a Maltese. They will own you 100%. Okay. They're so adorable. They're like having a little baby. So literally. So anyways, those are uh, to kind of wrap up my talk on the money talk, on the things that I wanted to share that I've learned. And there's so much more, but like I gotta like try to narrow this down, right? So um, these are the ones that I want to share with you. When I was talking about educating yourself on financial stuff, a couple things I want to mention is two quick points I want to make on that. When we originally built, so we lived in an apartment when we first got married, and then we had an amazing opportunity to acquire a lot. And if that wouldn't have played out the way it did, it wouldn't have been the same financial setup for sure. So we're very, very blessed to have an opportunity to get this lot. We built a house. We had a very strict budget because we were like, on a budget, tight budget. So we built the house for the exact budget. I remember my husband, who's brilliant at numbers, saying, "This is the number. We can't go over it at all." And as we were getting closer, if you've ever built anything, uh, and I mean, that was 20, I don't remember how many years ago, 1999. So it was when we moved in. And where was I going? Okay, so had to stay within the budget. Okay, so if you've ever built anything, you know that that's kind of challenging. Things come up. This price of, this product goes up, this supply, lumber goes up, hardware changes, pricing changes by the time you get around to it, because the building process, I mean, it's not like it doesn't take forever on it. This wasn't like a huge home that was built when we originally built it. But, so it's not like it's something that takes a long time, but still prices change in the course of like your plan and then it actually happening. And so as we got closer to the end, we like hit our number and we were like, and I remember like our kitchen countertops and the concrete, like there was no money to put grass in the yard, no money to put fence. So we stopped at our budget, like stopped at the budget and my husband was 100% right. Like, this is what we're doing because that was what we could afford. And so it was still beautiful, like so excited. Like, I was so excited for this house. It was like a super big deal for both of us. Um, but my point is that we stuck with the plan and we stuck with the budget. And then years later, when we had cash available, we did our first remodel project. And I wish I could tell you, I remember what year that was. I can't remember off the top of my head. And we added on, and we basically the things that we had to go super cheap on when we built it, we were able to be like, okay, now we'll put this countertop in the kitchen and we'll do, we upgraded a couple things that we just had to go like total baseline to get the house done. And so we did that. And then when my son was in college, that would be I think it was 2015, we decided like we're gonna, that we would keep this house for quite some time. And then we decided we were gonna do the full renovation, which was add-on and a renovation and all that, which again, because it wasn't something we were going in debt for. And we moved out, got an apartment, lived in an apartment for, I don't remember, not quite a year. And they gutted the house, and then we come back in, and then when we came back in, it's like a brand new place. It was crazy. They did an amazing job. I share that because delayed gratification is okay. You're going to be okay if you can't have, like, I go back to the original house, we stuck with what made sense. We adjusted through the years as we could. Ended up with the dream house, but did it in a way that it didn't, it was, for us, it was smart. It didn't take away from the other things that we were building. So in the end, we were like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing, but it's delayed gratification sometimes. So know that that's okay, that you'll be fine. Okay. So if you have something that you're doing and you need to stay within budget on it, stay within budget. Know that, like, don't get too overly emotional about something that you're going to kind of, what I say is called spend stupid money. And I mean, I've done that too. I mean, I've definitely found myself going, okay, hang on. That's probably no, that was stupid. That was a stupid purchase. So be aware of that. That's like you have to check yourself, okay? And the second thing, when back to education, on educating yourself when it comes to money, the other tip I would share with you is that I've learned I don't really think it's ever too early to do estate planning, um, and have an estate planning attorney. We started with an estate planning attorney before we really, like, people would be like, why do you got that? Why'd you do that? Because there was when we, like, built a house, but we had debt on the house, but we were going to have a house. So we started there. And what I like about, first of all, people don't want to talk about it, and they don't want to have to face their mortality, and they don't want to think about, like, someday. But someday comes, and so that's where you have to start taking the emotion out of money, that this is a plan. This is creating a plan. This is creating a legacy wealth plan. So you've got to be able to kind of step out of your feelings, right? Of your own mortality and all the things, and handle business. And so when you do estate planning, it allows you to do that. And when you work with someone that can walk you through, again, you don't know all the ins and outs of estate planning, but, or at least I don't. That's why you hire an expert on that. And an estate planning attorney really helps you create that, and then also develop that as things move forward, right? So as your financial statement grows, and the situations in your life change, then sometimes there's a need to create something else within that estate planning. So having an expert on your side, I would really recommend. And it was something I never even knew what that was. Um, I didn't. I mean, I was like, I don't know. I never knew that existed. And then when I got enlightened what that's all about, I thought that makes sense. So I would really encourage you to educate yourself about estate planning. And again, when I started on that, I remember the first meeting I sat in, I was just like, what are they talking about? That's okay. I want to, like, make it okay to be like, I don't know what they're talking about. Okay. That's normal. Anytime you're learning something new, you don't know what they're talking about. So that's why you get to listen, and then you ask questions, and then you learn. And then the more you learn, the better you can make decisions. So I didn't want to wrap this episode without touching on what I feel has been, just such a smart and good move for us early on, that we did early on, and that's estate planning, and really mapping that out, and letting that work for you. So anyway, so the bottom line, you guys, here's the thing. The reason I did these two episodes is I want you to be comfortable when it comes to money. I want you to be comfortable when it comes to you earning money. I want you to be comfortable about talking about money. I want you to be comfortable about growing your money. I want to take, like, all the wonkiness out of it, so that you're not holding yourself back in any way, shape, or form. Okay. So that's why I chose to talk about this because I've walked through some seasons and I've learned so much and I've am able to enjoy now success and fulfillment. I am able to to have had those goals of or those dreams and goals of financial freedom and then to actually live it out. So many things that I've learned in that process, but I wanted to share with you these things for sure. So get comfortable when it comes to money. See the opportunity that it gives you, see the possibility that it has in your life. All right. Well, I'm so glad you've hung out with me for these last two episodes. Got to listen to both of them. Okay. You can't have one without the other. They're like PB and J. They go together. All right. I would love for you to share this with a friend and spread the knowledge and spread the good news. Until then, you guys have a fabulous week, and I'll see you back here next week on the podcast. I want to thank you for tuning in today to the podcast, and I hope you've enjoyed the conversation and all the info that's been shared today. And I hope you've come away with a few ideas on how to make the most out of it for your life. If you loved this episode, be sure to share it with your friends and family. And also make sure you subscribe to the podcast and tap that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Also, it would mean the absolute world to me if you would leave a podcast review. So until next time, my friend, keep flourishing and thriving and live your life to the